All right, I can see a few people hopping in already. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Welcome to today's session. We'll get started in a couple minutes. We'll just let a few more people hop in. I'm just gonna pop some housekeeping information in the chat. Hopefully you can all see that. It's just about how to use Zoom today. We'll be using the chat and Q&A functions mostly. And we won't be able to see you, but you can see and hear us. And also to share anything that you're learning on Instagram, if you'd like, you can tag us at General Assembly OzNZ. Otherwise, I'll just give it a few minutes, pop your names and introduce yourselves in the chat. I can start. I'm Mahika, joining from Sydney. Hello. Oh, also from Sydney. Nice to meet you. Olivia from Sydney, Jackie from Sydney, Am from Sydney. Nice to have a lot of people from Sydney today. Oh, Abby from Perth, Amy from Perth, from Brisbane, Perth. Oh, Willoughby Council, Sydney, Perth. Oh, Paulina, that must be nice. Brisbane, Melbourne, a lot of Australians here. Nice to have an Australian audience. Hobart, Wagga Wagga. Oh, Melbourne, Loxton in South Australia. Bright. Oh, outside Canberra. Thanks for joining, everyone. The Gold Coast. Yep, I'm on Darug country in Sydney. Dorothy from the Blue Mountains. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to pop in the housekeeping again for anyone just hopping in. Hi, Lara from Sydney. Hi, Mrs. V. All right. Oh, Minnesota. Hi, Derek. What time is it there? 21. Is that? That's 9 p.m. Yes. Thanks for joining. Pretty late on a Tuesday night for you. Nice. Hope this session proves to be useful and informative on your Tuesday night. All right. So it looks like we are getting quite a few people in now. I might get started just so I don't eat into Alejandra's time too much. Hi, Caroline. Cool. You definitely will be learning a lot of new ideas. I'm looking forward to this session as well. All right, I'll get started then. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session and welcome to the event. I'm Mahika, I'm from General Assembly, and welcome to today's webinar, A Guide to Workplace Recycling Stardom, presented by Alejandra from Planet Arc. A big thank you to everyone for joining, and a big thank you to Alejandra and Planet Arc for collaborating with us on today's event. So before we commence, General Assembly Australia would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first Australians and traditional custodians of the lands where we live, learn and work, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. A little bit about General Assembly as well. We're a global tech education company helping people upskill in tech, business, data and design, and our mission is to help people pursue the work that they love. You can check us out on ga.co to check out all our offerings from classes, workshops, and free events like today's. So I'll just run through a bit of housekeeping for today. I'm sure we're all quite familiar with Zoom, but I'll just point out the following functions so everyone gets the most out of today's session. So you can use the chat feature if you want to send any general comments to other attendees, or if you want to share your LinkedIn to network today. Don't forget to select to all panelists and attendees in the drop down so that everyone can see your comments. If you have any questions for our presenter today, you can pop those in the Q&A function that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. We'll get to as many of those questions at the end of the session as we can. It's just so we don't miss any that we want to keep it in there. And lastly, we want to see what you're learning. So share that you're following us from home, from the office, or on your commute by tagging us at General Assembly OzNZ, which you can see at the bottom right of the screen. Finally, you will receive a copy of today's recording within the next 7 days, as well as the slide deck. So I don't want to cut into any more time. So without further ado, I'll pass on to Alejandra to take today's session. Thanks everyone and enjoy the event.
Thank you very much, Mahika. I'll just share my screen now. Okay. Well, hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining. As mentioned, my name is Alejandra, or you can call me Ali, and I am a recycling manager program at Planetary. And today we're going to be talking about recycling in the workplace. But before we do, I have a little poll for you. So if you can please just, hopefully everyone is familiar with QR code. So if you can just please take your phone and scan that code, it will take you to a poll. And in that poll, if you can please select who do you think creates the most waste? Would that be the construction and demolition sector, households, or businesses? And this is a live poll just here. And this is for Australia only, by the way. Cool. Okay, most people think that businesses generate the most waste. A few of you construction demolition, and then some of you households. I'll take this away. This is, before we start, this is just to give you a little bit of background on waste in Australia, and this is all from the National Waste Report last year. So at the moment, we generate 61.5 million tons of waste. Out of those, 27 million tons is generated by the construction and demolition industry, and that's the largest generator of waste in Australia. That is followed by households, which is 12.6. Well, that's actually number 3. And then number 2 is businesses. So as a business, it's really important for us to reduce the amount of waste that we're generating, and to recycle as much as we can. And this is just a graph to give you an idea and just the relationship between the different industries. So as you can see here at the top, this is the amount of waste that businesses are creating compared to the construction and demolition industry. And councils, by councils, I mean households and councils operations. This one at the top, it's relatively small compared to these ones, but it's still quite a big chunk. This is just ash generated by electricity generation. Schools would be considered businesses as well. And then here it tells you what type of waste we are generating across all industries. The thing that we generate the most, not surprisingly, is masonry materials because of construction, but also organics. It's a big chunk of the amount of waste that we are generating. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I know we have a huge plastic problem at the moment. And yes, it's massive, but that should not blind you to all the other types of waste that we are also creating. And lastly, this is just a graph that tells you the waste generation and management of such waste. Again, masonry materials, even though that's the thing that we generate the most, that's also what we are recycling the most. With organics, it's kind of like 50-50, a little bit less. Plastics, even though compared to the rest, it's not that much, we're not recycling pretty much anything. Okay, so now that is a very quick introduction to waste in Australia. The reason why we're doing this, this guide is to provide you with different tips to reduce waste and improve recycling at work. And we have divided these tips by responsible recyclers. So these are the really easy things that you can do right now and have an impact. And also rockstar recyclers, which is more of the next steps that you can do to become a legendary recycler at work, if you will. So the first one is a reusable paper tray. I know that this might seem lame and kind of obvious, but this is a very good one to save, obviously, paper and resources, energy, and also cost. But also this is great if you place them right next to the printer, and this is for paper that has been printed just on the one side, but not on the other. By having that constant reminder to people about the reuse of paper, you reinforce that message about reuse in general. So it really can help to remind people about reuse before they should be recycling. We can provide you free signage for that, and all of this is in the guide. Oh, by the way, I actually forgot to send in a link to the chat to the guide itself. So all of these other links and downloadable resources for you. And also we have an email template that you can use. You can just copy and paste it, and you can send that to your colleagues so that everybody is aware about this initiative that you're doing. So this is a very, very easy one that you can do right now. The second one is remove bins from underneath the desk. And no, we're not crazy. This is actually being proven to increase recycling rates at work. With the University of Queensland, for instance, when they did this, their recycling rates tripled in the office where they did it. This can only work, however, if you have a centralized bin station that is accessible to people as well. And the reason why this works is by removing the bin from underneath the desk, you force people to stop chucking everything into the one place, hoping that it will get sorted at the end, which it won't. And also you will force them to get up and go to the centralized bin station and sort each of the separate materials into the correct bin. So by doing that, you can increase recycling rates instead of sending everything to landfill, which is probably what will happen if you put everything in the bin underneath your desk. So again, that's a very easy one to do. If you end up doing this, it's strongly advised that you communicate this to your colleagues as well. Number 3, you can use our Nobrainer Checklist, and you can just download it. This is a checklist that helps you to keep track of your progress. And the first thing that you can do with this is to score yourself some freebies and start small. And by freebies, I mean services that will recycle something in your workplace that are not recyclable through the normal recycling bin. And this could be printer cartridges. And this is done by our Cartridges for Planet Art program, coffee capsules, and mobile phones. So as I mentioned, all of these are free. And so you have to order a unit. So it could be a box or like this pretty plastic unit here for mobile phones. As soon as that gets filled up, you call a number, which is generally on that box, and someone comes and picks that up for you. Ideally, with the printer cartridges, it's a good idea to have that right next to the printer itself. Coffee capsules could be a good alternative for a hotel or an events venue, for instance. And mobile phones, even though that is probably not something that you generate a big amount of, it's something that you can, it's a service that you can provide to your employees as well as your customers. And another thing that you can do is you can increase the impact of this by making these drop-off locations public. So let's say that you are in an office in a building, you can have this available to different offices in the same floor or to different businesses in your street. The other one is to send the right signs. This is very, very important. And by sending the right signs, what I mean is bin signage. It is not enough. Let's say that I just had like recycling here and here it only says organics and waste. That really is not enough. You have to have proper signage, and you can get free posters as well from the guide. You can download those. If you have a wall in the background, highly recommend to have an additional poster and the wall so that when people are approaching the bins, they have both, like they will identify either the one at the bottom or the one at the top. So it's very important to have the correct signage on each of your bins. And also buying it back. You are not really recycling unless you buy products made out of recycled material so that you can close the loop and generate that demand for recycled materials. A very, very easy one would be office paper. It's really easy to get. All the posters are downloadable on the guide and on our website. So the office paper, this is our 100% Australian recycled office paper, but you can get other brands if you want. Just make sure that it is Australian recycled so that we can make sure that we're recycling everything onshore. You can also get something like recycled plastic coasters for a bar or a restaurant or a cafe, as well as bollards for, I don't know, like an events venue, or if you're building something, that could be something that you could look at. Again, in the guide, there is a link to our recycled product directory. So you can just click in there and it will take you to this directory, and you can find not just this, but all of the different things and I guess products made out of recycled materials. Number 4, and from 4 to 7, these are the Rockstar recycling tips. And this is getting the right bins. And this is what I was talking about with the removing bins from underneath your desk. It's really, really, really important to have the correct bins and that they are accessible to people. You would like to have at least 2, one for general waste and one for commingle recycling. That would be the bare minimum, and also they need to be right next to each other. It's not good to have one bin in a corner of the room and the other one in the other corner. Please have them right next to each other because that will minimize contamination in the recycling bin. If you can, it's really good if you could add a organics bin as well as a paper bin. And again, just put everything right next to each other. And another good tip to do is, let's say that you have these bins in the staff canteen or the kitchen area. Make sure that in terms of positioning the bins, make sure that the general waste bin is the one that is the most accessible. And I know it might sound crazy because really you want to divert waste from that one, but I assume people in this webinar is really mindful of the environment and you want to do the right thing, but not everyone is like that. So let's say that I'm not. So if I go and I heat up my lunch in a plastic container, so I put it in the microwave, I take it out, I put it in my in a plate, and I will probably just chuck my container with probably like cling wrap and a lot of grease into the first bin that it's available to me. So by doing this, even though, yes, it will go to landfill, at least it won't be contaminating your recycling bins, because technically you would like to remove the cling wrap and all the organics before you put that into the recycling and so on. So that's why it's good to have, like, the very first one, just make it the general waste bin and then the other one. So if people are keen to separate each component, then they can do so. Number 5, get on-site help. So let's say that you're a business and you create massive, well, not massive, but really, really big amounts of waste. So it's really to have like an on-site equipment unit. So let's say that you are a bar, you probably generate a lot of beers and wine bottles. So a bottle crusher could be a good idea. That's the image that you can see on the slide. That will save you time, probably a lot of money, and also space, because you're crushing the glass and everything. So the volume is a lot smaller. Organics bin, and I'm again just really stressing on organics. And it's probably, if you already have a recycling bin and a general waste bin, maybe organics, if that's what you generate, could be the best next bin that you could add into your system. Just make sure that it will actually get recycled. And if you want to invest in an on-site system, make sure that, again, it will actually be turned into a valuable material. So whether that's compost or fertilizer, there are a few machines that are called digesters, which, I mean, I guess they're not terrible, but just think about when you are diverting something from landfill, make sure that that material at the end will actually be able to be used somewhere else, because otherwise you're just dumping it in a different place. And finally, like a cardboard baler. So let's say that you are a shop or a supermarket. This is something that you can invest on, so you can compact all your cardboard. So when the truck comes and picks that up, it will be the same amount of weight, but it will be a lot less volume. So you will be able to drop more waste into the truck, and that would actually be a lot of cost savings involved. If you are in New South Wales, which I think there's quite a few people in here who live here, you can get a free waste assessment through the Bin Trim program. Bin Trim is a program by the New South Wales CPA, and they have some funding. So you just ask, you go to their website, or you can go to ours, and they will have some links. And you can contact waste assessor. So they go to your business and they just check all your operations, and they provide you with different like tailored options that you can implement in your workplace. So that's a very good one, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you to check that out if you are in New South Wales. Number 6, expand your spatial item station. So this is in addition to the ones that I mentioned before with printer cartridges, mobile phones, and what was the other one? Coffee capsules. So if you could add, so these are also free, but you have to drop them off. So no one comes and picks them up. You have to drop them off somewhere else. So one is computers and accessories. So you can go to our business recycling website and check out different places where you can drop them off. Batteries are another option. So generally, Battery World and Officeworks, they can accept batteries. So again, go to the website so that you make sure that the shop that you're going to will actually accept them, because not all of them do. And finally, soft plastics packaging. Now, with soft plastics packaging, you can return them to Coles or Woolworths and recycle them through the Recycle program. However, this is only for small amounts of product packaging. So this is something for like a, snacks that you bring into the office, like chips and chocolates and things like that. This is not for large amounts of packaging, such as bubble wrap or pallet wrapping. If you generate those, please don't take those to Coles and Woolworths, because they just can't cope with that. And you will probably have to use a different supplier. Again, you can go to our business recycling website, put in your postcode with the material, and hopefully there's someone near you that can provide you with that service. And again, all these stickers and posters, they are available to be downloaded. So you can just put it on your boxes if that's what you want. And finally, you can organize a workplace engagement session. So you have 2 options here. We do have a recycling trivia that you can download, and you can give this in person or online, whatever's up to you. And obviously depending on your current working situation. So that can be done straight away. Or if your budget allows it, you can always book a session with us. There's a cost for that. You can send an email to inquiries@planetarc.org to check for costs and availability. So we go to your website, to your workplace, and we provide a tailored session depending on your needs. And that is pretty much it. So these are very, very simple things that you can do at work. This is meant to be for people who are neither, recycling experts. You're probably not facilities managers, and you probably don't deal with waste contracts either. But let's say that some of you do. Let's say that you own your own business, or you already did all of these different steps and you want to take the next step. You can always check out our Warren Ways toolkit. So in this toolkit, we do provide advice on sustainable procurement policies, on how to deal with waste contracts, and how to negotiate different contracts for that matter, and so on. So you can maybe start small with these 7 steps first, and then with the once you're done, you can get bigger with the Warren Ways toolkit. Okay, that's all for me. We can go to the questions. I guess I'll stop sharing my screen now. There we go. Mahika, I don't know if you want me to go through the Q&A and answer them.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question that we have is there a way that cheaper, no brand cartridges can be recycled? I've been told that Planetary can't recycle them. Okay, yes and no. So the Cartridges for Planet Art program is member funded. So this means that brands who produce these cartridges actually pay for those cartridges to get recycled, which is why we encourage you to use those brands. Because they're the ones taking responsibility. If you put maybe, one or two in there that are not the same brand, it's okay. But yet you wouldn't want to put all of them at the same time. Also, with cheaper cartridges, they tend to be made out of different plastics that are not the best quality. So yeah, that's why we wouldn't take those in huge volumes. If you have, again, one or two should be fine. But ideally, yeah, we would encourage you to choose the other ones because those are the ones that are paying for this service. Can we please have a link to the posters for the recycling and landfill bins? Yes. So if you go to the, I sent a link, I can send it again, to the guide. That guide has all the links to all the different posters and signage, and even email templates and so on. So you can find all of those over there. Are there benchmarks for the amount of waste? I am in a school, we're trying to benchmark our paper use as well as waste. I'm not really sure I understand that question. Do you mean, what is the amount of waste that you should, like your recycling rates? Is that what you mean? I mean, if that's the case, just recycle as much as you can. Again, if you are in New South Wales, you probably want to check out that the bin trim assessment, and they will definitely be able to help you out. We have another one. My workplace won't use recycled paper, but you use carbon neutral because apparently recycle hasn't been confirmed to last the 7 years required for record keeping. Okay, not something that I'm aware of, but I do know that recycled paper performs just as good as virgin paper. If you're interested, please send me an email. My email is alejandra@planetarg.org. Just send me an email and I will send that to the relevant person, to the paper person, and she has all the specs and data relating to the paper performance. Okay, so from Raj, can you please share a little bit more on recycling plastics commingle? I understand there are different number codes for different plastics, some are not recyclable. Yes, this is a very, very good one. Plastics. So the number in your plastic, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that doesn't mean that it can be recycled. It only refers to the type of polymer that is used to create that piece of packaging. Having said that, there are many things that also affect the recyclability of packaging, such as shape, weight, inks, colorants, and so on. So what you can do is, at least in Australia, always check for the Australian recycling label on your packaging. It's a new label that is, well, it's actually been around for 2 years now, but it's in around maybe over a quarter of products on the shelf. So you can check those out. And if it says recyclable, you can put it in the bin, or it can tell you different things that you should do, such as, I don't know, separate the cap or things like that. In terms of businesses, so that is like the general packaging bin. But let's say that you're a big business and you create big, I don't know, I'm thinking like DVDs. So the DVD case, you probably cannot put it in your recycling bin. But if you're a business who generates massive amounts of DVD cases, you can contact someone, again, go to the website and you will see a list of suppliers, because if you generate enough volumes, then it's worth recycling all those assets. So yeah, I would do that. Plastic recycling is it's very complicated. And we probably would have to have a complete different webinar around that. But yeah, just on packaging, please check for the Australian recycling label, or ARL. If you type arl.org.au, it will take you to the website that will tell you more about the program. Okay, we got another question from Sharon. We've been unsuccessful in finding a commingle recycling collection service for our business since the council doesn't provide this service. Any ideas of what we can do with commingle recycling? I guess it depends on if you're willing to pay for it. So again, if you go to our website, businessrecycling.org.au, you can just type your postcode and just select, you probably have to select plastics. It will give you a list of all the different suppliers in your area who can provide that service. So maybe check out there and see if there's anyone in the area who could collect your waste. Got another question from Margaret. What actually goes into an organic bin? So there are two types of organic bin depending on your business. If you're an office or if there's food involved, you need a bin that it's called FOGO, that stands for Food Organics and Garden Organics. So that is anything that you eat pretty much, plus tissues probably. So yeah, you just food scraps and I guess peels, veggie peels, tissues. So tissues, for instance, like you should not be putting that in your recycling bin, even though they're paper, they can only be composted, or if you don't have a compost or organics bin, into the general bin. But yeah, it's just pretty much just food scraps. That's about it. Also, I can't remember if I mentioned this before. Organic waste in landfill generates methane, and methane is a very harmful greenhouse gas that is more potent than CO2, and that's a big contributor to climate change. So there's a stat that if food waste was a country, it will be the third largest greenhouse emissions in the world. So that's why I kept saying that if you produce organic waste, that's probably the first thing that you would like to look at, because that's the one that will have a huge impact in terms of your carbon footprint. Are there any equivalent waste assessments in other states? Not that I am aware of. Sorry, that would be great. That's something that we are looking at with the other jurisdictions, but at this state, no, it's only New South Wales. Sorry. How does the container deposit scheme work for businesses? It will pretty much be the same. So like the example that I showed with the bottle crusher, they can also help you with that. So if you have, maybe with alcoholic beverages, that doesn't work, but with everything else, they have, again, collection boxes, and you just fill those up, they go and pick it up, and yeah, they just give you whatever your money's worth, minus probably a fee that they would take. But you can find different suppliers on that site as well. Or if you're keen, you can always go and drop them off if you want to, if you do have the time. I remember way back when I was working in hospitality, and I remember there was this lady who used to take all the bottles and everything from the hotel, and she would, because the container machine was on her way to her house, so she would take all of those and she would just recycle it herself. So, if you don't mind that your employees take them and make some additional money, why not? That could be an option as well. Is the trivia kit available? Yes. Oh, yes, it's definitely available. I'm not sure why it says it's not. You have to put in your details so that we can send you an email with the link so that you can download it, but it should be ready to go. I downloaded it yesterday, so I'm sure it's all good to go. That this was available for the last National Recycling Week. So are all the resources we're seeing on the Planetary website for downloading and ordering? Yes, you can use those straight away. They're just not available for commercial use. So if you are probably no one here is, but if you are like a waste collector, you probably won't be able to use them. But if you are a school or just a normal business that you just want additional signage for your bins, you're more than welcome to use them. These are also available for cancels. If you want to put your cancel logo in there, that's also an option that you could have. We got another question from Mark. We're trying to manage our soft plastics across our primary school, and it's complex. Yes, for schools, there is an organization that is called Plastic Police. So they specialize actually on soft plastics at school. So you can check them out. There is a fee involved. It's not a lot, but there's a fee involved, and they can help you with that program with just soft plastics for schools. So yeah, they're called Plastic Police. Where can I find information on different types of plastic? So that's what I was referring before with the Australian recycling label. And again, this is just for packaging with this label. The thing with plastics, as I mentioned, it doesn't really matter what it's made of if there's something that might make it not recyclable. So a good example could be a tray, you know, like those microwavable trays that are black. Maybe they are made out of PET. PET is plastic number 1. And that is one of the most recyclable plastics that we have. And when I mean the most recyclable is that there's enough demand that people want it. But because those trays are black, some of them have a dye that it's called carbon black. So when you put it in the bin and then it gets sorted at the sorting facilities, the way plastic is sorted, there's a laser that tries to read plastic, but that dye doesn't reflect light. So the laser will think that that space is empty, so the tray will continue and probably end up with, I don't know, with the paper or glass or something. So this label assesses all of the different things that affect the recyclability of an item. So it's not just about the material that is made of, but also any inks and colorants and shape and weight and so on. So just for packaging, please look for the Australian recycling label. So with recycling of organics with businesses, what kind of organization collects this waste and how to organize it with multiple businesses? There are different, I guess it depends on your location. I know here in Sydney, there's an organization that is called ORG, O-R-G. I can't remember what it stands for, Organics Recycling Group, I think it is. So they're really good at collecting any type of waste that you can just call them and they will be able to give you a quote for collecting your organics. I think, don't quote me on this, but it should be something around between $20 and $30 per week, maybe. If you have if you're in a complex that are different businesses around you, it could be the same as long as you have like a loading dock or a centralized location where you can collect all the organic waste. That is an option. The only thing though is that you have to communicate this to everyone who is involved and also maybe provide some sort of like an educational session so that everyone knows what they're supposed to put in that bin. Generally, maybe the supplier of this, like the collector, would be able to provide this sort of session because it's really, really important that obviously they only put organics and they don't put any like bottle caps or cling wrap or things like that. So again, compostable packaging, that's a hot topic at the moment because not every composter wants to accept those. And obviously with compostable packaging, A, it has to be certified compostable, and B, well, that's it. It has to be certified compostable. So if it says biodegradable or oxidegradable or landfill degradable, that's pretty much just greenwash. So make sure that if you have a service that can also collect compostable packaging, that packaging is actually certified compostable. Where can you download the trivia document? Oh, Marta, how are you? You can. That's on our website. So if you go to the guide at the very end, it's the last step. You just click on trivia, and it will take you directly to the site. It's actually hosted on Recycling near you, so you can download it over there. Are there alternative suggestions to laminating posters? Or can laminated paper be recycled? No, it cannot be recycled because it has that plastic layer and it's quite thick. But what you can do instead, they're like folders. So you, yeah, like plastic folders. I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, they work as a folder. Sorry, that's a terrible description of it. But kind of like a frame. So it's pretty much a frame and it has a plastic cover. So you just put whatever signage you want in there and just put it in there and you can open that frame as many times as you want to change whatever signage you want to change. So that's a good option. They're available at Officeworks or any like stationery shop. You should be able to find those there. because yeah, definitely laminated plastic, unfortunately they can only go to landfill. Where can you recycle small amounts of polystyrene? Polystyrene is a tough one. Transfer stations, they accept them, but they're not really available to everyone, and they tend to be quite far away. So if there's one near you, please check it out. If not, again, depends on where you are. I know here in Sydney, the Paddy's Market used to have a collection point. I'm not really sure if that's still the case, but you can check it out if you're in Sydney. But otherwise, yeah, polystyrene is quite a tough one, and there are not a lot of options to recycle them, especially if it's small amounts, as you said. Another one, is it possible to recycle milk cartons? Yes and no. So in Australia at the moment, they're not being, like, there's no one who can recycle them. However, the ones that are being exported, those are. So, and only the ones that are fresh. So the ones that are, that only have, like the ones that are, do not have the, like the foil, those are perfectly fine. The other ones are definitely tougher to recycle, but check with your local council because they may or may not accept those. Depending on what they do with that type of waste afterwards. A lot of work on cartons is happening at the moment, so stay tuned because probably something will change in the next couple of, maybe this year or next year. Does anyone recycle old coffee pots? As it is so tricky to sort them into separate programs. So coffee pots, I guess it depends what coffee pots you're using. If it's the same brand, yes, it will definitely get recycled. It's quite an expensive system actually, because you have to remove the coffee from the inside before it can get recycled. You cannot really put them in your recycling bin because it has the coffee, and also it's too small anyway. But these special programs, I know TerraCycle, they also have one for other brands, even if it's not aluminum pots. I think they also accept some of the plastic ones, so check those out. But yeah, they're actually being recycled, and as I mentioned, this is something that the brands are paying for their product to be recycled, so they should be. We have compostable and degradable coffee capsules. Do they break down if thrown in the usual general waste? If it says degradable, I mean, I'm not sure. If it says degradable, I would say no. If it's compostable, just make sure that it's actually certified compostable. The difference between compostable and biodegradable is biodegradable, it can be anything. It can be that it can break down either in 3 months or in 300 years. It could also mean that there is some a little bit of plastic in there, so it will just break down into smaller pieces of plastic. If it's compostable though, it means that it will break down within a 3-month period, and it won't leave any toxic residues behind. I would check if it's certified compostable, if that's the case. And if it is, check with either your local council or whoever is supplying you for that service if they are happy to accept those pots, because the problem with this type of things is that once it arrives into the compost facility, let's say, they really don't know if those pots are made, if they're actually compostable or if they're just general plastic pots. So they would probably just remove them because they're not aware or sure if what's the case. So check with the supplier first to see if they're happy to get those. If not, probably I would choose an espresso one or any other pots that have a recycling service that you can just drop them off. There's another one. How do we recycle biodegradable, degradable, and compostables of plastics? You can't. So please don't take those. So biodegradable and degradable, I would stay away from those just because you're not really sure what's in them, especially degradable ones. Everything that says degradable, allegedly greenwashing. So I would just stay away from anything that only says that it's degradable, because it doesn't really mean anything. Well, I guess it means that it will just degrade, but into what? Just into microplastics. There's really no environmental benefit to it. If it's compostable, again, if it's certified compostable, you can take them to a compost facility if they're happy to take them. And generally with soft plastics, they can be certified home compostable. So that means that you can recycle them at home. And the reason for this is because, so the way compostable plastics break down is with temperature. So you need really, really high temperatures to break this down. But with soft plastics, because they're so thin, provided that they're compostable, it's okay to put them in your home compost bin. So we recycle carton and Coke water bottles, which we get as they are cardboard, and they have said that they are recyclable. But out of commingles doesn't recycle the lids. Can they be recycled anywhere in New South Wales? So with the lids, you can, lids are, it's quite a tough one. Some people like them, some don't. It really depends on your contract with the waste provider. Again, if you go to the site, you can get some tips on how to negotiate those terms. Really, the reason why people don't, or I guess recyclers, they don't love lids, is if you put them by themselves, they will get lost into the system. But also the value of, let's say that I have a big bale of milk bottles with lids and another big bale of bottles without lids. The difference in value, like I would be able to sell my bale without lids at a higher price than the other ones, just because it has that additional different plastic. You could look at lids for kids. That could be an option that you can send your lids to. They recycle them. I know they have a lot, so just make sure that they actually want them. If not at the moment, it will have to go to landfill. However, in Australia, we have packaging targets. So by 2025, all packaging has to be either reusable, recyclable, or compostable. So hopefully by then, you won't have to do that anymore. And to be honest, it will probably get worse before it gets better while we build infrastructure and generate those those markets to I guess to get all that recycled material. But in the future, there's a lot of things going on to achieve the circular economy. So hopefully by 2025, you won't have to dispose of your lids anymore. You mentioned tissues can go into the organic waste. Is this the same as paper towels? Yes. With paper towels, though, I mean, provided that you didn't use to clean like a chemical spray. So if you use any like cleaning products, if it's all natural, then yes, it can go in your recycling bin. But if you use, I don't know, Windex, that would have to go into your compost bin. I got another one from Sarah. Any hints on getting coworkers interested in recycling, right? Yes, that is part of our War on Waste toolkit. There's a whole section on it of how you can get people involved. Communication is a big one. Also the sense of a group effort, that's another one. So once everyone is involved and everybody's working towards a goal, that also motivates people to participate in it. So let's say that, I don't know, and also start with something simple. So maybe start with the free recycling boxes that you can have, and say, okay, every year we generate, I don't know, 100 kilos of printer cartridges, let's assume. By doing this, all of those, that's going to get diverted from landfill. So business, whatever the name of your business is, will be contributing towards, you know, a better outcome in Australia. So having that collective effort is really, really important. And we have a lot of different things and tips on the site that you can just click to that will tell you the best ways to change behavior in with your colleagues. I have a very good question here. How can we make sure that the recyclers that we contract are doing the right thing with our recyclables? So that's a very, very good one. Again, so sorry to keep saying this, you can go to our War on Waste toolkit, and there is a list of the different things that you should be asking to your contractor, such as, where is it getting recycled? Do you have certifications to actually be able to recycle these, the license, and so on. So there's like a checklist that you can just go through and just pretty much just copy and paste and send that to your recycler, and they should be able to answer every single one of them. If they don't, if they say, we don't know what's happening, we just send it overseas to another recycler and it's up to them to recycle it or not, maybe that's a little bit. I got another one concerning organic waste. What is the average cost of a digester? I have no idea, sorry. I guess it depends on the volumes that you will be generating, and how you negotiate that and how long, because I know that some of them you can either buy them, some of them you can rent them. But yeah, if you can, the best thing you can do is really just to have an additional organic bin and compost it, because that will be, I don't know if it will be the cheapest one, maybe, but also is the one that gives you the best environmental outcome as well, because you are generating something valuable on the other side that can go back into the system so that you can generate that circular economy. I know there's some systems that you can also take your organics and turn them into energy, so energy from waste. So you burn them and then it generates electricity. That's an alternative if you do not have access to a compost bin, but I would say composting would be the best option that you can look at, and the other ones would follow. I have a question from Luis. Is it a good idea for me to put my food waste pile into the green bin? Does this go into landfill or gets recycled? Depends on where you're located. So I know in South Australia, green bin really refers to green waste and food waste. Anywhere else, I'm not really sure if that's the case. So just make sure that if it only accepts green waste, such as like branches and leaves and things, do not put any food waste in it. And the reason is because it has it's a completely different product and a completely different process that you need to recycle or to compost. Just green waste and leaves and branches, than if you add food waste, because it's a different ratio. So for you to be able to compost, you need carbon and nitrogen, and you have to have certain ratio for it. So once you add food waste, which is probably going to be nitrogen, you are messing up with the other things that they're doing. You're probably adding some pathogens in there. So if it's only accepting green waste, so waste from the garden, do not put any food in there. And I know it's hard. I do not have a food bin. I only have a green bin. I always want to put my food waste in there, but yeah, you shouldn't do that. I have another question. Can you recycle soft plastics if there's a paper label on it? Yes, you can, as long as the label is not huge. If let's say that your packaging is this big and the label is this big, that's totally fine. I have another question. What can a workplace engagement session bring to the business I work for? We need to improve our waste and recycling sorting. So this could be, it depends on, it's a tailored session. So let's say, and it could be anything from recycling at work and also recycling at home. So we can provide you with different tips and tricks and just general knowledge that we know that people are generally not aware of how to recycle better at home, and the different alternatives to things that are probably not recyclable. And depending on your operations and what type of business that you have in the industry that you work for, are the types of, I guess, options and advice that we would let you know. Have another question here. From Tony, we have a function coming up and we need to use disposable plates. Any suggestion would be fabulous, please. It depends on where you're based. So with events and food, compostables is a good option because they both share the same waste stream, and you have an enclosed environment that you can control any sort of, most of the contamination. So let's say that you can contact Biopack. Biopack, they do all the compostables. So just make sure that absolutely everything is compostable, by the way. And they also could offer a collection bin that they send to you. You put all your food waste with all your plates and napkins and everything, and they come and pick it up. Another option is vegware. They provide the same service. So again, just make sure that it is actually certified compostable before you do that. And this is only if you cannot use reusable plates and everything else. Okay, I'm conscious that we're running out of time, so I'll just do another two. Are the Planet Arc sessions available in all Australian states? Yes, they are. And I mean, as mentioned before, they can be delivered either face-to-face or online. It's up to you. Just reach out to us to see availability sometimes, and we can see if we can help you out. I got one here for Rebecca, which I won't be able to answer. We have a mining company approach asking about how to recycle hard hats. I do not know. If you send us an email, though, maybe someone in the team does know about this. You can always send us an email to enquiries@planetarc.org, and that goes to our information center team. And if there's an option for you, they will be able to help you out. Last question from Lara, can you recycle soft plastics with food residue on? No. All soft plastics, they should be rinsed and dry before you put them in the soft plastics bin at Coles and Woolworths. And this is because if you put any liquids and food residue, it creates mold. And that is one of the biggest issues that RedCycle has. So yeah, if it's full of grease and food and leftovers and you cannot remove them, then that has to go in your general waste bin. Okay. Any other questions? I guess I will be sent all the additional questions and I can answer them, and we can share this with everyone else. I see in the chat box that Liam, who is our comms manager, he's sending a lot of links and information around our different campaigns. So make sure you check those out as well. Thank you. Mahika, I don't know if you take over from here.
Yep, I'll take over. Thank you so much, Alejandra. I will just share my screen once more. Give me one moment. All right. Cool, so hopefully everyone can see that. I'll just go to the last slide. So thank you once again for everyone attending, and thank you so much to Alejandra and Planet Arc for presenting today. Before we go, I'd just like to share the feedback form in the chat. I'll just pop that in there so that everyone can share any feedback they have for us, or any feedback they have for Alejandra, or any ideas that they would like to share with us at all. You can pop that in there and we can have a look at that. And yeah, otherwise, if you had any other questions, you can head to our email, oznz@ga.co, or our website, ga.co, at the bottom of the slide. If you want to learn more about GA or have any questions that you want to ask us specifically. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you're joining from. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.